Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I am joined this week, shockingly, by Don Pizzette. Don, how you doing?
I am doing great. Ready to dive into another exciting week. We got some interesting tech news, as always. And, starting to feel the winter weather coming along, so it's a magical season for us.
It is in the lower 70s here in Florida, so it is time to put on socks with those flip-flops.
Yeah, that's right.
And Daniel, speaking of the North, you were up in South Dakota for Wild West Hackin' Fest. How was that?
It was phenomenal. It was a great time. Got a lot FaceTime with people I normally just interact with on the internet. So that sounds weird.
The police?
Yeah.
Well, anytime you can go to Deadwood and not die in a gun battle.
Yeah.
I assume it's good.
There's a high probability. I met two people that had never left their hometown and were above 40 years old.
And that was their first time, or they were from Deadwood?
No. They were from, not Deadwood. It was just in South Dakota.
Of that area. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I met a lady who's easily into her 70s. And I was like, it was in the middle of nowhere, South Dakota, because we were getting gas. And I said, how do you like it here? She goes, it's the only place I've ever been.
Don't know no different.
That's basically was the answer. And I was like, that's cool. I mean, your life is your life. She doesn't seem to be like upset about it.
But she doesn't know.
But it's just interesting that she had never experienced any other place than
I can understand
her
if you
hometown.
lived in a big city, you're like, it's got everything I need here.
Yeah, up there, though, like Nebraska, South Dakota, North Dakota, you do have some off-the-gridders, right?
Oh, I'm sure. So we actually drove past, because fun story, we flew into the wrong side of the state.
Oh,
And
easy mistake.
Then we had to drive to
did
the
you
other
know
side of the
that
state.
like ahead of time, or did the pilot just screw up?
So
Be like,
ahead of
South Dakota
time-
looks a lot different from the
By
air.
ahead of time, you mean like as we drove to the airport?
geez.
And yes.
From the plane, they're looking down. Like, wait a minute, I see the line of the state.
Yeah, I don't think that's right there.
I don't
Mr.
think we're going to
Pilot
be able to
Man.
get a cab over to
So we ended up driving across the entire state with 6 hours.
small state.
Yeah, just tiny. And we drove past where they filmed Dances with Wolves. So that was kind of cool. There was a lot of really pretty scenery and just the countryside.
Tatanka.
There is a place out there called Tatanka.
Really?
Yes, there is.
It's the word for buffalo.
It is.
I don't know why. I was really into that movie as a kid.
It was a great flick.
It was a great movie.
Yeah, go home and watch
Had
it right
everything
now.
you need.
And now every time you drink from a river, you look to see if there's a dead elk in it.
Yeah. Fool me
you do.
once. All right. Speaking of dead elk, our first article has nothing to do with that. It is from The Verge. Microsoft partners with Meta to bring Teams, Office, Windows, and Xbox to VR. And this says it's the biggest Microsoft and Meta partnership since the Windows Phone days. And we know how that worked. These floating torsos should be just as exciting because that's what's in the photo. So this last week we had Microsoft Ignite take place, but this one actually, I assumed this had come out of that, but it looks like it came out of a Meta event instead, Meta Connect. So Satya Nadella was there speaking with Mark Zuckerberg and talking about now you can just make Teams meetings that much more exciting.
Yeah. Hey, if you think that Meta and the metaverse and Facebook and through its connections, Mark Zuckerberg, if you think all of that is stupid, well, you can join the club. That's, I think, where most of us are. But Microsoft sees it as a possible future. Now, Microsoft has experimented with virtual spaces like these several times over the years. In fact, if you Google around, you can find this like just graveyard of technology in Microsoft's history where they've created these virtual meeting environments. They've even built some of it into Teams. But now they're offering to move Teams in its entirety into the metaverse. And so you can have a mixture of regular people on webcams versus VR people on avatars interacting in a meeting room. And they're not just stopping with Microsoft Teams. They're also bringing progressive web apps of some of their Office suite applications. So you can have Excel and Word. They're just two-dimensional. They pop up as like floating in the air. So, hey, if I want to show you a chart, I'll just pop up, bam, here's this Excel spreadsheet, and it's got a pie chart and success.
Well, what did we see recently? It wasn't it wasn't the Microsoft Surface, which that name changed.
Talking about that desk that they built.
Yeah, that
I
had
remember
like
that.
kind of hologram
Yeah,
things where you
like
could
augmented
collaborate.
reality. Kind
Yeah,
of with some
augmented
VR
reality.
glass
Was
or
it
whatever it was.
HoloSense?
I
No.
want to say
Is that what
so.
it's
There
called?
was the HoloLens.
HoloLens.
yeah.
Thank you.
There was
yes.
the HoloLens glasses that they made, but I distinctly
outside of
remember
that, yeah.
there was also a desk, and it seemed like there was like a really generic name for this that was like they stole it from somebody else, or somebody
Microsoft
else had a similar
meeting
name.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think this is one of those things where, yeah, in 25 years we'll be taking meetings in those kinds of scenarios and holograms and all those kinds of things where we're interacting. It's just going to be weird for a while as you see these things roll out when we're not ready as the general public.
Yeah, maybe. So, in my opinion, augmented reality has a future. Like,
Yeah.
we'll see augmented reality in one form or another. It's just so useful. But virtual reality is a different story because you have to fully immerse in it, right? And I don't know, have you guys used VR to any
Yep.
real extent? All right, so let me see if your experience is the same as mine, Daniel, because you have to put on the goggles.
Yep.
And then you can't see anything around you anymore. So,
That is
like,
correct.
if you want to take a sip of coffee or whatever, good luck, right? First off, you have to find your cup, and then second, you have to try and not hit the goggles with it, and so you completely disconnect from what you're experiencing in real life,
Which
and
could be the point.
maybe.
Yeah.
But the other challenge is, like, once you're in that VR space, all the applications I've seen make it really difficult to multitask. That you're really looking at one thing, and then you can flip to another thing or flip to, like, I can't just
So
lay
I haven't
out
used it
different
like
things.
that. I haven't done it like Minority Report style.
Yeah,
where
just
you're,
like games and
pulling up.
things.
Yeah, I did games.
Yeah.
And the games were actually like very impressive, honestly. They looked very good, and the 3-dimensional, like that you are in the space of the game, felt real. So it was really, really fun and really interesting. Again, I don't know how it would work when it comes to like me trying to do work stuff. And
Yeah.
why I would want to move to that from a traditional platform, and when this works just fine. It's like it's a hammer looking for a nail when it comes to that, as far as I'm concerned.
I would agree with that. And when I'm sitting at my regular desk, I can have a Teams meeting open. I can have a hockey game playing in another window. I can have my email in a third window. Like I can multitask like that. Not that I would.
Yeah, you
watch
know
hockey at
anything
work.
about
I
it. This
didn't
is all
say
hypothetical.
but when you get into VR, they make it difficult to do stuff like that, and so it's just not there. And with these like avatars that they're creating, I don't want to have meetings with avatars.
Yeah, those don't even have
Yeah,
pelvises.
it's pretty.
Yeah.
They
disturbing,
stop right at the belly
actually.
button.
Yeah,
I don't like that. They couldn't program the rest.
Yeah, and
this looks like a National Enquirer like headline.
Yeah.
Room full of legless people.
Yeah,
Started
But
meeting
even no
together.
pelvis
and,
too.
yeah.
We're missing.
there was a
important
little controversy because they released a video where Mark Zuckerberg had legs, and they were like, legs coming soon.
Oh, he gets legs.
But they
It's Mark Zuckerberg.
they had to add the legs as like a post edit. They did
Oh,
a
it
green
wasn't actually
screen, and
in-
no,
yeah.
it was not actually in there.
It's surprising that Facebook would lie to us like
it's
that.
vaporware.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
People are starting to ask questions because he has spent, I say he, like Mark Zuckerberg
Yeah.
has done all this work by himself. Meta as a company has spent billions of dollars creating this metaverse, and so far it looks really crappy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are all in on it, and I mean, I don't know anyone that's like, "Have you been to the metaverse? It's
I know one person.
rad," and they're like excited about it.
They said it was really weird to begin with, but then when they got used to it, it was kind of cool. They didn't. He said he didn't realize that all the players or whatever that the people, I guess is the better way to put it, that he was interacting with, he thought they were like NPCs,
Oh, and they were real.
and they were like real people.
Oh well.
And then he said, once I realized that, it kind of got a little cooler.
He's like, after I killed the third one, I was like, wait a minute, these are real people.
Oh no!
SWAT team's knocking on the door. I mean, once we get to Ready Player One kind of level, then I'll check it out.
And go to the Oasis.
Yeah, exactly. Midnight at the Oasis.
Yeah, I don't know. Is the metaverse, is it open where like anybody can sign up for an account and jump in?
I don't know how to get there.
Dude, I don't even have a Facebook account, bro.
Because I have an Oculus headset, Oculus 2, I think is what
Is there
I
like a
have.
line out on that where we could do an episode where you go in and we
Yeah.
just kind of see what you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, let's do
Yeah, that'd
that.
be fun.
All right, we get the production team involved in this, and we're gonna make this happen next week. Next week, we're going to the metaverse.
Technado in the
What the hell
metaverse.
do we even need with this stupid place for?
Yeah, we'll
Right?
figure out where it is. Like, we're at the convenience store at Main and whatever in downtown Metaverse, and you can come watch Don and interact with him.
We could be the first podcast to get banned from the metaverse.
Yeah. Oh no.
How did he offend so many people without legs and a torso?
Well, it's not easy done, but
I would kick the crap out of you if I could.
That's why you watch Technado, to see things exactly like that.
By the way, what we were talking about before was Microsoft Mesh. It was their AR/VR collaboration platform, and that just came out March of last year. So
No, what I'm thinking of came out back in like 2015, 2016.
oh, okay. See, I'm talking about something that this was debuted at. I think it might have been Ignite, the virtual conference that they had in 2021. And it was a collaboration tool where it's kind of people physically standing around a table able to kind of look at a 3D model of a building they were building and make changes and zoom things in, but all kind of through AR. Because I agree with Don. AR,
Maybe the one I'm thinking of
much
is
more
more like
practical.
a giant tablet.
Oh, they used to have it was called the Surface.
Oh.
And before they made the Surface as a laptop, because we had one in my old company. Because
you really?
We developed content for it because we had a contract with Microsoft to develop some stuff that they showed off. And I mean, yeah, it was a multi-touch device, but it was actually
Actually pretty cool, right?
But when it booted up, it was Vista.
Oh,
It
really?
was, yeah. So we're like, let's take the best. And
I think you have to share the story of what happened to it.
it was sat on and cracked by a regular-sized human person with legs and a pelvis.
Named?
His name was Gary.
Rhymes with
It was not me.
with eater.
It was not me. It was so funny because the guy denied it. He's like, I was leaning against it, but I don't think that was me. We're like, it was you. You were the only person dumb enough to sit
We
on
were
it.
just talking about how you broke the game machine that time with on the golf.
Golden Tee.
Very
Golden
early.
Tee.
Yeah,
Like,
I think it was my
his
first
first week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had Golden Tee, and I hit the trackball and just went full, palm of
the
my hand
glass.
into the glass and right down the middle, just cracked that. It was not tempered.
That's why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, and we didn't for quite some time until we got new glass and stopped.
Peter,
putting
man,
Golden
check
Tee.
out this game.
Yeah. All right, never mind, Peter. But yeah, that's coming out. So yeah, if you're an early meta adopter and want to go play around, see if you can find somebody else who is and get in there together. It's hard to decide where to look when there's two red lights on. But I'll go with the one on the left. All right. Our next article comes to us from Engadget.com and is staying in the Microsoft world. The Surface Pro 9 comes with either a 12th gen Intel CPU or a 5G ARM chip. Now, so when Surface first came out, we had the regular Surface and the RT, which was ARM, and so we're kind of back to that where there's two versions of this, right?
All right. Microsoft needs to fire most, if not all, of their product marketing department, because they keep releasing products with really, really bad names. And this one is a little worse than some of the others. I'm trying to look up the one. Remember when
Windows murder.
they were releasing a phone
8,
and they decided to call it the Windows Phone 7 series.
Uh-huh.
And it was like,
Okay.
what the heck kind of name is that? Just call it the Windows Phone. But
That was when we were on Windows 7, right?
at the time, yes.
So it's kind of trying to we're aligning.
I guess. I mean, stick the series name
Yeah.
on
Just
it.
call it the stinking Windows Phone and go
Well,
home,
Yeah, 1,
So
2.
this one's a little worse. When they release a Surface like this or a
Yeah.
Surface tablet or any kind of laptop, right? I'd be okay with them using the same name if it came in like an Intel and an AMD version, right? You don't have to do a different name for that. You just say what processor's in it. But here, one's an Intel and one's an ARM processor. And that is a very different world, right?
Right.
You have applications that run on the x86 platform or 64-bit
Right.
x64, but don't run on ARM. And you have things that run on ARM that don't run on Intel. So when somebody goes and buys one of these, they could be thinking, hey, I'm getting a full-featured laptop, but they're actually getting an ARM processor, which has some benefits, great battery life, better wireless support, all that stuff, but much more limited application library available to it. And to name them both the Surface 9, you're going to have regular people that go to the store and say, all right, here's a Surface Pro 9, here's a Surface Pro 9. One of them is $200 cheaper.
I'm going to grab that.
I'll save $200. And they walk out the door with an ARM one. Now, in the past, they at least did a little bit better by calling them the Surface Surface Pro X.
Yeah.
And the Surface Pro X, that was the ARM one. And then the other Surface Pros were Intel. Well, now they're just calling it the Surface Pro 9, and you've got to make sure you pay attention to what processor you're ordering.
What did RT stand for back in that day? Because that was the
Real
first one, right?
turd.
Shoot, yeah, might as well have.
Real
So that was the original name of the ARMs. I don't remember what it
Yeah.
stands for, and that RT name is actually still in use. If you get a ARM based Windows install, you'll see some of the execution environment in the back still has the RT name on
All right,
it.
Don, here's what I want from Microsoft. Next Surface Pro model comes out.
Oh, runtime.
It's not either Intel or ARM. It's Intel and ARM. Tell me I'm wrong.
Dual
We get the
chip?
best of both worlds.
With no, it's got to have a neuro chip, whatever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know
fine,
those
too.
switches you used to have like on your TV when you want to switch to like turn on the VIC-20? Or you would like flip a switch? Well, I want that same switch so I can go
Yeah.
which chip
No,
I'm
it
on.
should just be like if you're doing wireless stuff,
No.
it knows to channel through ARM because it gets you better support for that. If it's doing
Yeah.
like right, and you just have some logic built into the thing, booyah! You can charge $2,000 or $5,000 or whatever the hell you're going to charge. You get you a dual processor.
Yeah, wouldn't
Best
be
of
much
both worlds.
different than like offloading to a coprocessor, right? You could
Right.
do that. I was making fun of it a second ago, totally not intending to hit a good point, but it reminded me of something I should mention, which is while the ARM processor, it's impossible for it to perform at the same speeds as the Intel one.
Yeah.
It does have a feature that the Intel one doesn't, which I'm feverishly trying to find the name of it. I said a neural processor a second
Oh,
ago. That's
yeah.
not what it's called. It's something like that though. But it actually has some like hardware assisted artificial intelligence that it can do, or machine learning, or
Oh, that's
whatever
right. There's
buzzword.
like AI in it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to do something like a background replacement on a webcam, the ARM version can actually do that in hardware, which means it'll do it better than the Intel one, which does it in software on the general purpose CPU. So there's certain things that the ARM processor will be better for, and certain things that the Intel will be better for. And unfortunately, it's going to be up to the consumer to choose right, which we know they always do.
Tell me I'm wrong, Don. We need a board with both chips.
I think there would be some architectural challenges
I want to
there.
hear your stinking pushback, man. All I want to hear is yes, it's amazing.
You could certainly do it. I've seen systems like that where they had like entire computers on a PCI card.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. And the challenge you bump into, without digging into engineering and all
Yeah.
that, is when you boot up, your BIOS is going to expect a certain architecture,
Yeah.
and then the kernel you launch is going to expect a certain architecture, and so that is always going to have to run on one of those processors. But then the applications themselves could be offloaded, but you'd effectively need a whole second kernel running and a network system between the two.
Yeah.
And
Would
so,
like QEMU be able to do something like that?
well, I don't know if you'd be able to do it with hardware acceleration. Like at that point, it
Right.
would be software,
It's still
and
all
your performance
software.
would suck.
Yeah.
But if you look at like one of those blade server racks where you've got 14 blades in there,
Yeah.
and each one's its own independent server, but it's all in one big rack. You could build something where it was all these discrete, separate systems in the background that are all just unified and displayed to you as one.
I think all we got to do is dream, Don.
We could.
We
could do that.
dream, and then next thing you know, it's a reality.
You don't even have to dream. What you do is you Kickstarter,
You're right.
right? And
then go, we didn't make it. Thanks
And
for the money.
I'll tell you what you need. You don't even need to come up with a chip design. You just need a really cool case, right?
Oh, that's
So
right.
you go out there, you shop around, you find the coolest computer case, and then you can kickstart.
Listen.
And you get $1 billion.
I don't see how we're like, honestly, why aren't we doing this?
'Cause we're-
Dream a little.
we have integrity.
yeah, there's that.
That's that. Dang integrity always getting
When did
away.
we get that?
I know. We picked it up last week at
Okay.
Walmart.
Yeah, I thought I was vaccinated.
It was
for but I'm
Chinese
not.
integrity, though. So cost us a lot less.
Speaking of Chinese integrity, I was reading. You know, we were talking about Huawei the other day and how you can't use that. I read an article today on CNN.com about how one of the committees, I think Armed Services Committee or Defense, was pressing the Biden administration, saying, why have we not done anything about this yet? Because apparently they made this grant for being able to remove that hardware off of cell towers, and no one's actually removed any of it yet. You can't buy new ones, but it's still at these places by near bases out in the Midwest where I guess there's an issue with being able to get reimbursed, and if I do it, will I be able to get the money right away? So that's the problem or something, but no action has been taken in 2 years to actually remove what was there. It's just
good to
you
know.
can't get new stuff.
Yeah.
So
I know the other controversy that's cooking is that the government stepped in and said if you are the government or if you do work for the
if
government,
you're me,
you're not allowed to buy Huawei stuff. But if you're just a regular company out there, buy it all to your heart's content.
Yeah, and if your office happens to back up to a military installation, well, it sucks to be us.
Yeah.
That's fun.
It's a strange line that they've drawn in the sand on that one.
It is odd. All right, well, let's take a look at our next article, which comes to us from CoreLight.com, which is CoreLight's internal blog here, because this is their press release saying Zeek is now a component of Microsoft Windows. And Zeek, I thought Zeek was the guy in Pulp Fiction, but that was Zed.
It was Zed.
So I had to look that up.
What happened to Zed? Zed's dead.
I heard you guys talking, and I said, I don't know what Zeek is. I heard Don say he's never used it. So, Daniel, what's a Zeek?
What's a Zeek? A Zeek is a farmer from Appalachian Mountains, right? No, that's not what it is. So Zeek used to be called Bro, and now it's Zeek.
It's called Bro.
Yeah, it was originally called Bro.
God.
Yeah, because it was developed by like a engineering student.
Frat house?
It was a play on Big Brother, the Orwell novel.
Yeah. So, but really interesting technology, basically, and we see it a lot all around. It's really effective. Basically, what it does is it kind of works like a network tap, where all the network traffic can kind of go through it, or specific network traffic can be pushed through it, and kind of looks at it, and you can develop all these triggering events. And when an event is triggered, it will create a log based off of your specifications, and then it will be able to feed that log to other log management systems. It's like a seam. So you can create events for those things and so on and so forth. But basically, its idea is to, hey, let me look at all the traffic that's going through here, and then based off of the stipulations that you've given me, I will generate X, Y, and Z logs. And they're known for being very like slim and streamlined and very effective.
I generate a slim log.
Yes, it's good to know. It's good to know. You might want to have that looked at by your doctor.
Yeah, strangely slim. Yeah,
It's weird. It's like a Twix.
pencil. Yeah. Go on, though. I'm sorry.
No, that's basically it. It just creates these logs for you to let you know that these events are happening.
And if you
Computer's beside himself.
if you think about how we
Which you do when you're generating logs.
That's right. You got a lot of time to think. If you think about how distributed our networks have become, right? You've got all these people that are doing work from home and all of that now potentially you could turn anybody's. This is going to derail into the worst episode ever. Potentially, you could turn every Windows machine in your environment into a node, for your Bro monitoring, not Bro monitoring, your Zeek monitoring.
Yeah.
So it's a neat opportunity. It also shows how Microsoft has really embraced a lot of open source technologies and other platforms to incorporate in Windows Defender. So it's just like baked into the operating system. Now, key thing to remember here is that while this is being baked into Windows, it's actually not installed and activated by default. So you've got to choose to roll that out, like with the Windows Deployment Toolkit or something like that, if you want it to be available and operating on your systems. But as an enterprise, it's an extra step you can take. And because it's incorporated into Microsoft software, it'll be updated with Windows Update, which is another nice feature.
Nice. So that'll be cool, man, to have that because it's such an industry standard tool. I mean, I've heard a lot of the, more popular people out there like John Strand and Rob Carson, and they talk about this thing like yes, you should have this in your network. Got to make sure that you tune it right. But once you do, it's nice, right? Because it gives you all that information you're looking for to have each one of these workstations kind of like monitoring itself and letting you know, hey, if you've set up some cool rules, you probably push it out with GPE, right?
Yeah.
Group policy, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, and just like any system, you obviously want to monitor it because you're going to end up with logs all over the place, and so you need to do a little spring cleaning every now and then, and make sure you pay attention to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so once you push it out, you're good to go.
Because you don't want those chunky logs, right? They do get too chunky.
Sure.
Yeah, they got bits and pieces of all sorts of stuff you don't want in there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Doing everything I can here, guys. Hold this together. All right. I'm going to switch gears because I have no questions
Journalistic
about that.
excellence.
I don't understand. This next one is from ZDNet.com. It's kind of cool. It's a little scary, a little cool. This thermal attack can read your password from the heat your fingertips leave behind. Researchers detailed an attack technique combining thermal imaging and AI and warned that increased access to innovative technologies will be abused by cyber criminals. And this is why we can't have nice things, because they figure out how to take them and use them against us. So we're basically physically looking at the heat that your fingers have left behind on the keyboard.
Yeah, and I'm calling BS on this one on a number of levels, but this is not a new type of attack. We've heard about thermal cameras being used for this type of thing for a long time. I think I saw it at least 10 years ago where they were talking about ATM machines, where you walk up and you punch in your PIN. Somebody with a thermal camera could take a picture and then analyze that to figure out what your PIN number is, right?
But it's the AI that is saying which one was touched first based on how much heat is left behind.
Right. And, if you think about how quickly the heat dissipates on a keyboard, they basically need to be able to capture what's it, not infravision? What's it called when they... Thermal vision.
Yeah.
They need to do a thermal picture of your keyboard right after you type the password.
Which is why wouldn't they just want you to write the password?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah, and they could have seen that, and if if somebody logs in, what do? They don't just stop typing, right? They
Yeah.
continue to type,
Log
to do
in,
more
walk
things,
away.
And
Yeah.
So it's just so much of this is just not realistic. This is not something anybody needs to worry about, and they're just sticking the AI piece on there, saying, "Look, the heat dissipates." If they saw your key presses before, they wouldn't necessarily know the order. Now maybe they can calculate it out, and I suppose that's true.
It makes it
but
sound like you think this is clickbait.
it really is. And
So maybe this is more of a proof of concept that, hey, this is something that we were able to do in a lab. Is this a
That's what I'm saying.
realistic threat?
We were able to
No.
breathe in a lab, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
really seem to be impressive.
So there's a thing in the scientific community where a lot of PhD students they either are required or feel they have to be published in order to get their PhD, and I feel like we're starting to see that in the cybersecurity world too. That people feel like they need to push out a CVE or some high threat or whatever, and so you start to see fringe things like this. Remember, there was they could listen to the noises your hard drive makes to figure
Yep.
out your
Yeah.
password or things. And these types of attacks are so incredibly difficult to pull off and require so much access that you could have already gotten the information like 1,000 other ways that were easier.
Just send them a fish and it's over.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, why do things the hard way?
Like a marine animal?
Yeah, a dead fish.
Okay,
A
I didn't
dead
know if it was
fish.
like a
And
the
they'll
whole
just
Hack
be like,
5 tool.
I'm just going to open up my computer to the world and
Sure.
let them have it.
So I know that the quick set door locks. I've got one at my home that's physical buttons, and they say, "Oh, you got to change your password periodically because if you always hit the same numbers, you're going to rub those numbers down, and it's obvious." A friend of mine has the touchscreen one, and before you put in your code, it makes you just push two random numbers.
that's
Like it'll
smart.
show you like a 4 and a 1, and you have to push those, and they go away, and then the number pad's there, so you type your code. Because otherwise, on those, you would see the fingerprints,
Really
crystal
easily,
clear.
yeah.
So that's kind of a cool way to get around that.
I wonder if there's a way to study it. Like the numbers it's suggesting are probably not the numbers in your normal combination.
Oh,
And if you could study it long enough, if you could figure
Yeah,
out, like,
yeah.
all right, these are not numbers, that narrows it down.
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, we're down to only 4 left. These are the numbers.
Figure out the order.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a cool concept, but as you said, it's probably not something we need to worry about. But what I always do is after I've typed in a code, I just mash a bunch of keys and make sure that I do that, or use a room temperature stylus. Do that.
I lick my keyboard. That gives it a nice distribution of heat and it keeps it clean.
Pretty even. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny. I don't know why this came into my head, but Don, you said a comment a few Technados ago talking about how the Hollywood industry, the sound men that work, the sound
they should
people,
all
the
be
engineers,
fired.
that they're just Satan incarnate because when people are talking, it's whisper quiet, and then all of a sudden it's like a erupting scene and everything's super loud. I was like, I wonder if I could build an Arduino with an audio sensor that would also have an IR that you could train to, like, if dBs go higher than this, then turn the sound down, like by
Yeah. Isn't that just a compressor?
not a compressor. No, this would actually reduce the volume and not cap the volume.
I
So
see.
compressors cap frequencies.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they had a technology like that in some TVs. Remember how advertisements used to be way
Yeah.
louder than your
Yes.
show? And so there were some TVs that were marketed as having that where they could bring the volume of the advertisements down
I need that for my movies.
just for everything.
yeah, TV.
Now, similar problem with video these days. My wife was watching. It's not the Lord of the Rings. What's the miniseries on
new one?
Amazon?
Yeah.
Rings of Power.
Rings of Power?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
something
haven't
like that.
watched it.
Yeah.
But I
It's
walked
not
into the
canon,
room.
so screw it.
So I walked in the room. She's watching it. Now I had to ask her what it was because the screen was completely black, and you could hear some people
Are
talking.
you sure you're watching?
And
Yeah.
and there's a torch in the background at one point, so I can see a little glow of light, but the screen's completely black. And it went on for like a minute. You could see nothing. And I said, "Is something wrong with the TV?" And she's like, "No, it's just really dark here."
It's directed by the guy from Game of Thrones.
And yeah, and so like audio is really bad right now. Video is going down the gutter too. And so
Golly.
before long, like you don't even need to turn your TV on. You
Yeah.
just pretend you're watching.
Yeah. You just, if I was there, it'd look like this.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's horrible. All right, well, I'll tell you what. We're going to take a quick break, step aside. Now's the time to produce a log if you need to, or anything else that you're working on. And we'll be right back with a couple more articles here on Technado.
Welcome to IT Pro TV, an e-learning company with thousands of hours of engaging video training for IT professionals with fresh content added daily. What makes IT Pro TV stand out? It all starts with our edutainers, who create better-than-classroom experiences for training you look forward to watching.
So an edutainer is someone who takes a topic, an educational topic, and makes it more fun, enjoyable. My vision for IT Pro TV was to make the product that I wish I had when I got started.
The dashboard is great because you can actually pick up right where you left off. You can also end up seeing new courses that are available to you, and with a membership, you have access to a variety of study tools.
Follow along with virtual labs and test your skills with practice tests. And unlike traditional training, you aren't handcuffed to your desk. Sure, you can watch from there or from your couch with Apple TV and Roku apps, or from anywhere with mobile apps. The training is even available for download. If you're ready to watch and learn with the IT pros, check out the flexible membership choices online today at www.itpro.tv.
Do you know what's better than being an IT Pro TV member? Being a member for free. Hi, I'm Don Pizzette, co-founder and edutainer here at IT Pro TV. Once you sign up for an IT Pro TV personal membership subscription, you'll automatically be part of our referral program. Then all you have to do is share your personal referral link and code with your friends and colleagues. Every time one signs up, you get money off your subscription. Sign up enough and your membership is free. That's right, access to all your favorite IT training, totally free. Kind of feels like stealing, doesn't it? Check out the link below to learn how to get your code and start sharing today.
All right, welcome back to Technado, and as promised, we've got a couple of fun ones to get to. Going to look at something that's a little weird and something that's a little conspiracy theory-ish. So this first segment is actually our That Makes No Sense segment.
It make no sense, it make no sense, it make no sense.
What you talking about, Willis?
All right, this one comes to us from arstechnica.com. All DisplayPort 2.0 products are now DisplayPort 2.1, VESA says. Is VESA the same as that makes like the VESA standard for the back of monitors?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So they're the ones responsible apparently for the DisplayPort certification, would you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Standard
specification.
Specification, thank you. And so this one is weird, and what made no sense to me, and see if it's the same thing that made no sense to you, is that they just basically certified all the 2.0 stuff, but moving forward, things need to pass, a series of requirements. So how do I then know if mine passed requirements or was just part of the batch that just got the grandfathered in there?
So the short answer is you don't. And
Okay.
and that's the awesomeness that we're in right now, where the USB-C connector that we find on most computers these days is like the world's most confusing port, because there's so many different standards that function on it, between Thunderbolt 3 and 4, USB 3, 3.1, 3.2, 4, DisplayPort 2.0, 2.1, like all these different standards. And so when you look at that USB-C port on your computer, you just don't know
It
what
can
it's
be a
going to support.
DisplayPort too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, in fact, most of them are. So, so when you look at that port, you just don't know what it's capable of anymore.
Yeah.
And then to have the standard themselves go and do something wacky like this. So the problem here is a quote that they released that was really somewhat misleading. And let me see if I can find that quote, and I'll read it to you guys so you can hear how confusing it is. Where they mentioned that basically the products up to that point that had been worked on as DisplayPort 2.0 are now considered 2.1. And they said it in a way that made it sound like everything was already certified that way and that it would all be there. And I'm not seeing that quote, but anyhow, they did release a quote from their actual, staff saying this. And so that's led to a lot of confusion. They've had to come back out and clarify. And what they said was, look, DisplayPort 2.0 is pretty new. It just was announced last year. And so 2.1, they knew they were going to release it. They knew they were going to change some things. And so they reached out to everybody who was manufacturing 2.0 stuff. And they said, look, we're about to change the standard. So why don't you retool? And you can't sell it as 2.1 yet because it's not finalized. But if you build it with these specifications, when we do announce 2.1, you'll already be there. And now your devices and cables and whatever can be relabeled. And so that's what they did. And so it's led to where anything manufactured from here on is going to be DisplayPort 2.1. They don't certify 2.0 anymore. So everything new is 2.1. And some of the old stuff is 2.1 and some of the old stuff is 2.0. And you can't functionally tell the difference just by looking at it. You would have to try and use some of the advanced functionality to see whether it worked or not to determine it. So they've really just added to that confusion.
So they're playing DisplayPort roulette, is what you're saying.
Yeah. If you have existing cables, yep.
I feel like this going to the grocery store and them saying, "Oh, on the beef, we changed the expiration date. We moved them all forward to this week so we can sell them this week." Some of these are new meat, as well, but
we kind of mixed them in.
Yeah, it's up to you to find.
Yeah, I mean, you'll find it.
Yeah, you'll know. You'll know, right?
You are doubled over the porcelain bowl.
Well, it is time.
You will know that you found it.
Fortunately for most people, the feature changes, the stuff they introduced in DisplayPort 2.1, most of us really won't notice. It's when you've got a cable that's pushing DisplayPort video and coexisting with doing things like Thunderbolt transmissions, trying to maximize coexistence, that's where its new features really excel. So if you're not somebody who does that, if you have a monitor plugged into one port and your storage plugged into a second port and so on, you probably won't notice whether you're on 2.0 or 2.1, and it won't matter.
I've heard that one of the telltale signs that you're still on 2.0 is that it gives you the runs.
It's documented.
Yeah. Like bad beef.
That standard
Sensing a theme in this episode.
That standard was sponsored by Hardee's. And this new one is different. But if you have something like a USB-C docking station, that's a different story. That's the poster child case of coexistence. And so, that's where you'll notice, boy, I really wish I had that 2.1 cable to be able to get this to work a little bit better. So unfortunately, it's confusing. And if you got an existing cable, it is incredibly difficult to figure it out. But basically, they said, going forward, everything's 2.1. They're not going to certify 2.0 anymore. But a lot of the 2.0 stuff is actually built to the 2.1 standard. So there's your daily dose of confusion in the world of cables.
Thanks, VESA.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yes. They keep making these steps to try and clarify, like the new labels they put on the cable.
It just adds to the confusion.
It does, yeah. So if I want to get a cable that's 40 gigabit capable or 80 gigabit capable, well, it's got the 40 or 80 sticker on it, and that's nice, right? But then these other features, they don't have stickers for them, and even if they did, you'd have like 50 stickers running down your cable.
More than the cable can't be
I have a purple
1 foot. It's got to be
sticker
longer. We need more room for stickers.
Yeah.
So one thing they did give us to test with is if you have a DisplayPort 2.0 cable and it says that it supports ultra high bit rate or UHBR, if it says it supports that, then it's actually built to the 2.1 standard. But that's assuming you still have the documentation for your cable, right? Which is the first thing I throw
It's
away.
in my drawer. Yeah. Under C for cable. That's where I keep it. All right, remember the That Makes No Sense segment brought to you by ColoGuard. Poop in a box, send it to us, but make sure it's the ColoGuard box. And not just
a neighbor's Amazon
pack.
package.
Don't want to reuse those. That's a quick reminder. There.
Fun story. I used to know this guy was a
probably not a fun story.
It is. He was a corpsman in the Navy, so he was basically like a medic or a nurse or something. And when he got out of the Navy, he went into healthcare and he became a nurse. And he said that he had to get a stool sample from somebody. They give you a little plastic cup. It's got a Q-tip in it and everything. He gives it to him and said, "We need a stool sample." He said, he comes out and he hands it to me. He goes, "It must have weighed 10 pounds." He goes, "You can tell where he shoved the top off." He goes, "I got it." I go, "Where's the Q-tip?" He goes, "It's in there."
I ate it. Is that not the way?
I'm like, that he's like, I stopped being a nurse not shortly after.
Yeah, that's a dedication to health science,
Yeah,
right
it
there.
is.
That's,
Want to make sure you get a good sample.
Yeah.
All right. Well, our last and final segment is one of the ones we tend to have the most fun with on this show. It's rare that it comes around, but we've got one today. It is tinfoil hat time.
The moon landing was fake. Paul McCartney's been dead since 1966.
Dogs can't see color.
5G causes syphilis.
Do you understand that?
Alex Jones there, the $1 billion man now. All right, this one is from theregister.com. How Wi-Fi spy drones snooped on a financial firm. And this one's cool because this is not a, hey, this could happen, or someone saying, hey, I was spied on and there's no proof. This is a company that found a couple of drones with some pretty high-end gear on their rooftop.
Yeah. It makes me think of that Kurt Cobain quote, which I don't know if he came up with it or if he just put it in a song, but where he said, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you.
Yeah.
So this is one of those cases where somebody noticed something a little bit weird, right? Some activity on their network. They noticed an employee's MAC address was showing up on their Wi-Fi network as being in the building when they knew that employee was working remotely. And so
Could that be them remoting in or something?
MAC addresses are
MAC
that's
address.
layer 2, so that
Okay,
stays
yeah.
local. It doesn't go
Right.
through routers.
Yeah.
So in this scenario, like that was a red flag. Now that tells you that this company does something sensitive because very few people actually monitor
Layer 2. Yeah.
yeah, and know the MAC address of every employee's devices and track when it's active and not active. And so whatever this company does, which I don't know, they said it was like a
finance,
financial,
yeah.
but that's all they said, right?
Yeah.
A financial firm focused on private investment on the U.S. East Coast.
So this is
They're
like
not
Merrill Lynch or
disclosing who the
something,
company
right?
is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
J.G.
so
Wentworth.
they would be a good
877.
target, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a structured settlement?
Yeah. I need cash now.
I do.
We have drones.
Yeah, we get that cash. We're getting that cash now.
So
Just fly in and take your money.
I could see somebody wanting to get into their network then if they've got access to things like that. Obviously, they got power of attorney on file for people
yeah.
if they're doing structured settlements and all that mess. I would assume.
Yeah, so we'll just say JG.
Yeah, from now
Wentworth
on, it is J.G. Wentworth.
We cracked the code.
Yeah. We put all the pieces together. Now we know who
It all
it is.
checks out. They've got a building with a roof.
So they then went on a hunt to find out where this device was, right? So the MAC address is showing up. That means the device is physically on their network. They got to find it, right? I say physically, it's a wireless network, but that means that it is in
Within
proximity.
wireless range. Yeah.
So they whipped out a Fluke Wi-Fi tester, which I've forgotten the name of those things. It's
DJI
Yeah.
Matrix 600?
No,
No.
that's the drone.
Where
The
it's-
Fluke. It was the
that's the
Fluke
drone.
AirCheck Wi-Fi.
there we go,
tester,
AirCheck. There we go.
which doesn't even have a price on their website. It says request a quote.
They're about $3,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So no,
You know that off the top of your head, do you?
yeah, because I wanted to buy one last year.
Gotcha.
We were doing the 12 days of IT. Remember
Yeah.
Ronnie did the thing where he had a
Oh,
Fluke,
yeah, he had
like
some
fiber
Fluke stuff,
tester.
yeah.
Yeah, Fluke provided that. They're doing that again this year. They're
they
providing us
really?
a new
Are
item.
they?
I hope it's the Fluke AirCheck.
They're not
doubt
cheap.
it highly.
Yeah,
I mean,
'cause I don't want to
even-
go on the roof.
Yeah.
Just check.
Ronnie asked him at one point if we could just get equipment just to use to film something and send them back to
Yeah.
them. Like we don't need to keep it.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, no, we just send them as samples and that's that. And yeah.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So it's a $3,000 device. That's not something your average Joe is going to have laying around. Again, so this is obviously a company that's prepared for attacks. And so they used it to track where this signal was coming from. They tracked it to their roof. And when they went up to the roof, they found 2 drones sitting on their roof, not flying,
Right.
like
Yeah.
They
one
landed.
One was actually damaged, so it like crash landed. But the other one was fully functional, and they were basically sitting there on the roof.
I'll tell you why it crash landed. It was loaded with equipment.
It really was. Did you have the list? Andy?
Yeah, it's right here. It says it was the DJI Matrix 600 drone. It was carrying a case that contained a Raspberry Pi, several batteries, a GPD mini laptop, a 4G modem, and another Wi-Fi device.
Now, when I saw all of that, like it's carrying quite a bit of equipment. Drones, all the drones I've ever used totally sucked, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're talking Walmart level drones.
Yeah.
But for one to carry this much weight, that tells
It's a
you
pretty
this
robust
is
piece of gear. Yeah.
it is. And Peter, didn't you look up?
Yeah,
the
I
price?
looked it up. I mean, it was anywhere from like 3,000 to 6,000, depending
Oh
on the
my
configuration.
goodness.
Yeah,
Well-
this is not a consumer level. This is like, hey, I have a business where I
Yeah.
record.
I steal with Wi-Fi.
steal with Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
So
I
there
have
were-
a structured settlement and I need cash now.
JG owes me my money, damn it. I'll kick his old ass or I'll just steal using Wi-Fi. It was one of the two.
So there were 2 drones, and the first one just carried a Wi-Fi pineapple, right? Which you can buy at Hack 5. It it allows you to create. Oh shoot, what are they called?
Like
the
Evil Twin.
Is that a
Evil
in the
Twin.
middle?
There we go.
Right.
Okay.
You can create an Evil Twin, so it's
It's a Rogue AP that has the same name and like SSID and stuff.
So someone connected to that, and that's how they got the first foothold.
right, and that drone that cost like $2,000 to $3,000.
Yeah.
And so they flew one of those in there with a Wi-Fi pineapple, which pineapple is like $200, I think. That's not so bad.
But we're talking about $10,000 in equipment at least between all this stuff.
So more, because once that first drone collected some credentials, some user credentials from authentication, they then had to retrieve the data off it because it didn't have a modem, so they had to fly that one back. So it made more than one trip. And then they hard-coded those credentials into the other drone. Now, the other drone, the Matris, that's like a $10,000 to $15,000 drone.
Woof.
Those are really expensive. And they have to be able to carry that
Much
load,
weight,
right?
Yeah.
So the 600 is an older one. If you look now, I think it's the 40 and 80 or 60 and 80.
And not only that, did it say that it would have several batteries? Like the batteries
Yeah,
alone.
that's weight. Yeah.
That is super heavy.
Because they need this up there running long enough
Right.
to
To
do
do
whatever
whatever.
it needs to do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to run continually, right? Because once they get in, then the first step is to create
Just
some
depends
sort
on
of
what happens,
outside.
yeah.
Right. So once the second drone comes in, then it goes into the stuff Daniel always talks about, right? They got to gain a foothold. They got to try and compromise the system. Now, if it's a really secure network, they might be trying to exfiltrate data through the drone. The drone did have a modem on it. And so in which case it would need to stay there and never come back, right? And then, it's got the batteries and so on.
Yeah.
But if it's not a truly secure network, if they could get a foothold and then a connection out to exfiltrate data, then the drone's not needed anymore. They could retrieve it. But in this case, that second drone crash landed. And so it was no longer capable of flight. So it was stuck on the roof. But it was operational and it was delivering its payload. Their network was under attack.
And it deployed its solar panels. And like that'd be great. Like a satellite
Yeah.
folds out.
Man, this is a fairly sophisticated attack, gentlemen.
yeah.
Like this is crazy that someone would spend this much time and investment of money and obviously the juice had to be worth the squeeze. Like they were really bilking old JG for all you had. I would assume for them to spend this much money and time and effort into getting this done.
Now, I put this in the tinfoil hat side because, it's like a conspiracy theory. People are after us.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, somebody actually is after
There's
them.
no
so
doubt.
It
Yeah.
pays to be paranoid. But, I called out the thermal fingerprint
was
password
bullcrap.
stuff just a few minutes ago, right? But this one seems practical. And I was wondering, I wanted to ask you, Daniel, what do you think? Would it be worthwhile for us to try and build something like this? Maybe just the first stage of the attack, right?
Okay.
Do you think you could get a Wi-Fi pineapple geared up on a drone to be able to fly near,
like
even this building, and try and pull off an attack? Do you think you could do that?
I think I could do that.
Let me ask you, why would you do that? And why would you not just drive a van to the parking lot?
Proximity.
But
right. So if
you're that much. Is it
so
that
if you've got
big a
I would
difference?
assume that that 4G signal was for control, right?
Okay.
So they could somehow control the device without being near it, right? Because you don't want to be within radius of the thing, and they start finding out that you're
there's no
actually there,
fingerprint on it.
They can go to traffic cams and all this stuff would try to pick up who it was. I want to control this thing from across town. So if you got a cell network that you can connect it to and control it that way, or maybe GPS or something like that, that it just follows the GPS trail and goes where you want it to go. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near the dang thing.
Now, I wonder if that would be in the device, if the drone has a memory of its GPS.
You can program a flight path into them.
Yeah, but I'm saying,
Like, where
could
did it
this
take
company
off
now
from?
say, if we have your drone, we can look back at its path. Now, granted, it could have been from the top of a parking garage,
Yeah.
a block away.
Well, I mean, you can be certain that this organization, J.G. Wentworth, that they absolutely involved the authorities.
Yeah.
And so any information that could have been scraped out of those drones, I'm sure was.
You know, what'd be ironic is if they have to actually discover the attackers and sue them. They get a structured seller.
Oh, my God. Yeah, like we can help ourselves.
Yeah.
And they're like, there's no way we would use ourselves. It's a ripoff.
Yeah. We're going to lose like 30% if we do that. Well, this is a crazy one. I mean, when we talk about the level of sophistication and the amount of money spent on it, do we think like nation state? I mean, is that kind of where your mind goes?
I mean, it's possible, and we know that North Korea basically funds their entire country based off of stealing from banks.
Yeah. It could be.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
But there is, I mean, we watch movies like The Godfather and stuff, and we think that the mafia doesn't exist today and all that, but there are criminal organizations that,
like the mafia is highly into
they're funding
cybercrime.
This podcast. Yeah.
Brought to you by La Cosa Nostra.
Yeah.
You're a friendly neighborhood mafia.
Do you need your kneecaps?
1904.
Interesting. Well, this one's cool. I mean, I don't know that we'll find out more about this because this wasn't put out by the company of, hey, we want to let you know there was a thing. This was, somebody talked to someone that worked there and released some information, but it's all very hush-hush. We don't know. It could be, Stanley Steamer. Or
it could just be
Wentworth.
whatever J.G. Wentworth's competition is. And
Sure. Yeah.
They obviously don't have a catchy jingle.
One of the other Wentworth brothers.
Maybe they would spend less time building, drones with Wi-Fi capabilities and more time on catchy jingles.
Mm-hmm. Then they
wouldn't be in this situation.
Yep.
Yeah, but this is cool and shows that consumer hardware and the things that you can buy. I mean, everything on here was something you could buy over the counter
on Amazon.
On Amazon, and you could build this, like we said. So, interesting story and maybe a vision of things to come for the way that attacks take place, but pretty cool. All right, want to let you know about a webinar coming up. We have Mr. Daniel Lowry today on Thursday, October 20th. You better run to the studio. Doing all things cybersecurity, a conversation with Tim Medine, and he is from Red Siege.
Red Siege, yeah.
Was he out at Wild West?
He was not there.
What?
He had previous engagements that I think he was in Southeast Asia or something. John Strand made a joke like, I should just give everybody here his phone number, and then you call him and harass him.
It could be like you went to the wrong side of the state. He went to the wrong side of the world accidentally. He's like, oh, this is too far.
It happens.
We're not going to rent
a guy with his skills and reputation. He's in demand. So
yeah. But he had a drone there. He was He was watching.
Hi, everybody. They did those drone formations and it made his face. And he was like, hi, everybody.
It was a deep fake.
Yeah.
All right, but that is taking place today, Thursday, October 20th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Head over to itpro.tv/webinars. You can register for it. Even if you are watching this after the fact, that's fine. The whole thing will be recorded, and you can check out the archive. Should be up in just a day or two after October 20th. Again, that'll be at itpro.tv/webinars. And then while you're on that internet, head over to technado.com. You can see the technado as well. Daniel seemed disappointed with my.
I do prefer technado.
Yeah, it's a better URL.
It is.
You can see all the latest episodes. You can send in your feedback. Like I said, we've got some feedback recently that people are liking the little longer episodes. So we will keep doing that until the shorter episode people start
raise their hand
chiming
more.
in. Yeah, we'll see. But you can also click the big orange button that says sponsored by IT Pro TV to get 30% off of your personal membership. You can also fill out the form on that page to request a team trial and a demo and find out all the great features available to teams from IT Pro TV. All right, guys.
Microsoft Teams?
Yes, yeah, which takes place in Meta. So
there you go. It all comes around full circle.
How are we not in Meta yet?
I got to break out the headset and try it.
Yeah.
It's just sitting in my closet.
No, I mean, how is IT Pro TV? Like, how can you not go into a virtual movie theater, sit down and watch your, CISA Plus content?
I know I would.
That's where I would be.
I'm going to go back to my multitasking argument.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like to watch training while
they do other things.
Well, you walk into your virtual movie theater and you look, oh wait, that's George Michael and that's Pee Wee Herman. I'm in the wrong theater.
In the danger zone.
Yeah, this is not my normal CISSP.
Yeah, where did this trench coat come from?
CISSPEE. Yeah.
Jeez.
All right. Anything we need to edit out there?
No, I think we need to go out on that joke.
Half of the episode. All right, we'll leave it there. Yeah, tip your waiters, everybody, and we will see you next week right here on Technado.